Hi, everyone. I'm here to present my qualitative research project. It's called Administrative Change, Insights into Teacher Emotions. All right, we're going to move right on. So, just as an abstract, this is a phenomenological qualitative study. As I'll say a couple times in this presentation, that for me meant to really be as close as I could to the data. Um, I didn't Of course, I extrapolated some things, but as an example, when I looked at the words that my participants mentioned, the words like angry and emotion words like upset, I chose not to lump those words together, right? They were both considered to be negative. I attempted to find themes related to teachers' feelings and experiences through administrative change in schools. This is a big passion project of mine. I've been administrator for about 10 years, and I really would like to know why teachers seem to get very upset over what seems to be a very small change. And even though I try to get a lot of buy-in and I speak one-on-one with teachers, and I think I'm a pretty friendly person. I often get a lot of resistance, and so I'm personally fascinated in this topic. I interviewed three teachers. Two were kindergarten teachers. One is based in a public school in Maryland. One is based in North Carolina, another public school, and the other one is an MLL teacher, um, multi-language learner teacher, and she's based in San Diego, California. They were semi-structured interviews. And then afterwards, I used inductive coding. And as I mentioned, I was really looking for positive emotion and negative emotion themes. The data supports research about good and bad practices for school leaders, as I will share in a little bit. Limitations of the study include biases and generalizability. And it really does inspire me for future research related to teacher training connected to adaptive mindsets, as I'll explain in a little bit. Future research would involve further exploration of possible sub-themes. Okay, so this is a basic overview of what we're going to see today. Introduction. So teachers, as I think everyone here knows, they have stressful lives. Obviously not all the time, but the work of a teacher it's up there in terms of stress. One source of negative emotions for teachers is administrative change. And there are not a lot of studies that I have found that even say that, but administrative change definitely has a connection with negative emotion. So, a couple of exceptions to the fact that there are very few studies. One of them is a study by Evans in 2000 showed that teacher morale, job satisfaction, and emotions can be related to admin change. By the way, admin change here can be many, many things. Admin change can mean change in curriculum, or it could be a change in philosophy, or it could be a leader change, right? All kinds of different types of change. Another exception to the rule, there not being many studies that support what I was looking for. Clement 2014 spoke of admin change connected to compulsion and lack of opportunity to make meaning. So one interesting thing about all this is that change is, of course, at least I think it's of course, is a fact of life. Um, I found a nice quote all about that. That's a fact of life by Canley 2015. And it's especially true in the history of American schools. So everybody in this class has an understanding of changes that have happened since the colonial days to today, right? Things have changed quite a bit over time, especially in the United States. And I also would argue that change is a simple way to explain what administrators try to do in schools. Great principles build productive school climates, facilitate collaboration, and strategically utilize personnel and resources with the goal of student improvement. I mean, in a way, that's what principals do, right? That's what school leaders do. Okay, so I had two basic research questions. I already mentioned that I'm following a phenomenological approach. Question number one is, how do teachers who've been in a school for 5 years or more describe their emotions and experiences related to administrative change? Question two, what are teachers' suggestions to administrators before, during, and after a change that would help them implement the change? Basically, my interview protocol had 5 questions that all had to do with different nuances, different aspects related to administrative change. I asked very neutral questions about the emotions and the experiences that teachers felt, but then I also asked questions about, actions that administrators made that made the teachers feel supported. Those are the two things that I was really looking for. Incidentally, this was very arbitrary. I chose 5 years or more to describe 5 years or more as a qualifier for the teachers that I interviewed. Um, I don't know if I have this in the presentation, but in retrospect, I realized that teachers' years of experience teaching um, have a lot more to do with resistance to change than 5 years or more being in a school. So that was something that I didn't know at the beginning of this study. Okay, methods, setting and participants. As I mentioned, 3 public schools, North Carolina, Maryland, and California. 3 teachers whose names I changed to Tara, Jennifer, and Lily. They were chosen by convenience. I knew all 3 teachers, and they that again had that qualification that they were in the same school for 5 years or more. Um, this will come up a little bit, but Tara, besides working in Maryland, is actually my cousin, a distant cousin. Jennifer, I used to work with in Albania, actually. I was her supervisor. And Lily, I also used to work with in a different school in Brazil. And all 3 of them I know personally now, obviously. In terms of data collection, semi-structured interviews following peer-reviewed interview protocol. I had 5 questions, 30 minutes, roughly recorded via Google Meet with Otter.ai to help with transcription. And then I took research notes as I interviewed the participants. For data analysis, as I mentioned a little bit, I looked for negative and positive emotions and feelings, and they were coded as themes inductively with deduce. So as I already said earlier, following a phenomenological approach, I chose not to lump emotional words. So for example, angry and upset would not be treated the same way. I just only treated them as negative. So you can see some of the findings. I made 2 tables. Um, in general, there wasn't a lot of overlap between or I should say, among what the participants said. So just maybe take a moment of this. So on the left-hand side, you can see what the administrator did or said. On the right-hand side, you can see the emotion or feelings. So administrator's words do not match actions. The teacher felt frustration, lack of support. Teacher felt frustration and helplessness. Ignoring problems or context unintentionally. The teacher felt frustration. Not validating teachers. The teacher felt helpless. Ignoring problems or context intentionally. Teacher felt anger, guilt, upset, and implementing change without sufficient notice. I'm sorry. That also caused teacher to feel angry and upset. And these are the positive feelings and emotions that are named by participants. So opposite side of the coin, when the administrator implemented new methods that teachers approved of, the emotion or feeling was to feel content. One-on-one conversations made the teachers feel supported, as did assigning subs so teachers can go to meetings, demonstrating empathy, answering questions about change, and professional development for the change was offered. So on this page, take a look at the quotes on the right-hand side. So this page, we're looking at negative emotions. So one of the possible sub-themes that I'll mention later has to do with identity and autonomy. So this is one example where there was a kind of a pattern where both Tara and Lily said something where I thought to myself, it does have to do with identity and autonomy. So Tara said, I didn't really have any validation toward making any change. This was regarding when a supervisor came into her classroom at a certain time and she was not on schedule, and she would basically mark down 2 points on some kind of rubric. And then Lily, she is the only MLL teacher in her school. And so she said, I'm the only one who does this job, so that's made me feel kind of lonely because I can't share what I know. And so again, just to briefly mention of possible sub-themes, and there weren't, as I mentioned, a lot of clear patterns, I thought that identity and autonomy would fit here pretty well. Another finding that was really significant was Lily's. Lily made this quote, and it was quite interesting to me. She says, "I would say the teachers hate change, and even if it's good, we hate it. Like we used to use Blackboard, which is really bad, and we moved to Google everything, and everything's like, no, we don't want to. We hate it. And then, of course, Google is so much better. We were really upset. So I guess be cautious and know that we're going to hate it at first." So that was pretty meaningful to me. Here are some more of the positive findings. So again, Tara said one-on-one approaches help me feel supported and understanding what the expectations are for me. Jennifer says, I felt like I had the backing. I felt supported by my admin, that they were there to help me with change. So again, in terms of possible sub-themes, this one would be collaborative and respectful communication. Discussion. So the results of the study bolster previous research in the field. That is, certain behaviors of school leaders are seen as helping teachers and certain behaviors are not. Examples. Teachers value when administrators listen to them. Teachers want principals to give them time to work on new initiatives. Teachers feel frustrated when administrators ignore problems that they are complaining about. On a personal level, this study led me to a puzzle. Why do teachers that I work with feel what seems to me to be extreme emotions, but in these interviews, they seem so rational? So a quick example is a new carpet. I suggested to a couple of longtime teachers at my school that they should be, could join me in this effort to pick a brand new carpet for the basement where the 3-year-olds are. And they were livid. I mean, it was a no-go. So I just didn't do it. It didn't seem worth the battle. So that's something that I find very fascinating, is how the teachers reacted in these interviews. Everything seemed very rational the way they explained it, but in real life, what I see is a lot of anger. And on a personal level, this study also led me to an insight. It's that teachers hate change. That's what Lily said. But more seriousness, it led me to a future study that I'm going to talk about in just a second. Sorry. Okay, limitations: convenience sampling and personal relationships with participants, social desirability bias. 3 Caucasian teachers, not generalizable to the general population of teachers. Also, it's important to note that none of the applicants were new to teaching. Perhaps new teachers would not declare that they detest change. There are other ways that, by the way, I may have influenced the results just by knowing the teachers. Okay, so future research, really what I'm really interested in, first of all, if this is a theme and these are possible sub-themes, I think that future researchers could look at my suggestions for sub-themes and see if there are some studies that will support what I suggested. I also have a dream. This is supposed to be a teacher who is very adaptable. I have a dream that instead of going through teacher education programs, where you're kind of taught at the time, oh, this is the most important thing, things will never change very much. You're learning the creme de la creme of pedagogy. Inevitably, it will always change, right? Or it could even be cyclical. And I think that it'd be interesting to start researching teacher training and to see if training teachers to be more adaptive helps them become better teachers. Like if a teacher knew that was part of the job, I don't want to say like the Marine Corps, like to adapt, but if that was just kind of thought and really trained with teachers, like change is part of the job. Every year is going to be different. Every 5 years is going to be different. Like you have to be comfortable with that. I think that would be pretty interesting to look into that more. Here are some references. And I thank you very much. Sorry about the wrong date there. Have a lovely rest of your day. Bye.